There is absolutely fraud going on. Like, I am not claiming in any way that, it's all, everybody's doing great. Right. There is absolutely fraud going on. And so there's a reason why they do this.
Yes. And it's doing it right.
Yeah. I think CASP just sent out like a message on the New York Times article on how ABA is all awful and terrible. And so like, there are a few people out there, and it's not ABA related, right? Like, there was a huge issue with respite care, where there was a bunch of fraud being committed. So it's just, there are people that, they just take advantage of the system, right? They see a loophole and they're like, yeah, I'm going to take it. And, that's, exactly why I say an ethic is not going, like a board ethic is not going to help you, right? It's your morality and your compass that you need to follow.
That is what I told Alecia, because Alecia was like, I don't know, are they going to like say that I'm doing fraud? And I was like, well, are you doing fraud? Well, no. Okay, then you don't have to worry about it, right? And I know that that's hard because like it really is ingrained in all of us, right? Like, the board's coming after us and the insurances are coming after us, and it's just really not that. And I don't know, how do we change that? Like, how do we, I guess more conversations like these, right? Like, how do we change that? Because I know like the newbies, right? It just is like, shoved down your throat. Like, you have to be careful. The board's going to come after you. And it's just not the case. It's just not. Even like at a state level, right? Like, I've had disgruntled employees, try to, what do they call it? Like, they end up opening an investigation. I don't even know that the investigation is going on most of the time, right? They haven't even told me. And then I get this random letter saying like, there was nothing found. I was like, oh, I didn't even know you guys were investigating me, right? But the reality is like, I'm not doing anything wrong, right? Like, I have my own guidelines and, moral, like I make good decisions. And, if I make a mistake, I fess up, but like, it is what it is. How do we get past that? It's just more conversations, I guess, like we just said. So
more conversations and learning. You're going through your first audit. It's scary. You've made it to the other side. Okay. So now what do we do next? Okay. The next audit that comes down, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to go back through my systems and ensure that all my notes are done, or, I'm going to crack down in areas where it's like, look, this is too important to not crack down in, like I can be lenient here, but here I can't, and it's always a learning experience. It's a big headache and incredibly stressful, but it's at the end of the day, like you said, we're all doing it for the right reasons. And you fall so far on the right side of the line that it's like, okay, try to show me, teach me. What did I do that I need to change?
Yeah.
I think part of it too is like figuring out a way to help streamline the information from different insurance companies to the providers, because like all the different insurance companies have different contracts and and these contracts have different information in them, and and it's really hard. Like, you hear, go through your contract, look at your contract, keep an eye on newsletters. Well, how is this piddly little company supposed to keep up with all of that, right? And who's out there helping, like who can help decipher through that, right? I think that is also a piece that it is difficult and may be a weak link for the smaller companies and make them a little bit more vulnerable. And at the end of the day, as I kind of like reflect on that, I think like that is probably the root of where a lot of my anxiety is coming from. I'm like, I signed these contracts. I signed, I read them. Do I remember them? No. Like, do I have the resource? Of course. But like, do I reference them a lot? No. Like, who does, right? And so
it's like the iTunes agreement, right? Like, I don't know what that says, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I just want to listen to some music.
You know the rates that you're signing up for, like what services you can provide in this contract, like the general understanding. But when it comes down to it, like if they come for an audit, like that is like, that was something that in my state specific training, like they they focus on a lot too. And I'm, yeah, that's good and great, but who can help me with that? Right. You know, every insurance company is different. And so how can, like, you want to have standardized way of what you're doing documents, and that's what we have. But that doesn't safeguard you from these other contracts that may have these weird whatever. I don't think I have any of those, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I'm going to say this lightly, but that's where if we could collaborate with other BCBA owners in our area, I say this knowing that it's not just as easy as that. I know there's a lot of barriers to that as well, because you also don't want to just take what the ABA agency down. You don't want to take their word either. Sure. Like the agency down the streets, like, yeah, we've been doing this a couple years and this is how we interpret what but still, like, it's so specific. Every state, and then sometimes within a state, there's a certain region that's different, or a certain plan. Like, even if you're all like, I don't know, I'm just going to throw something out, Blue Cross Blue Shield, then there's like all these little subsidiaries, right? Or United Healthcare, like,
or
not
self-funded,
or not. Like, there are these very specific little pieces of information that you do, that you have to be aware of and keep track of, and then they change. And then I remember, so when we were, I don't even know if you know this. So.
Am I going to jail?
No, we're not
April
going to jail.
Fools.
We're not going to jail. But no, so I'm picturing myself back in our first clinic, right? And sitting at my desk and thinking, I have a pretty good, I think we're doing pretty good here. We're starting to get a hang of this. And I would get, I don't even remember what insurance, was it Blue Cross or Anthem? Anyways, I would get these like CDs from time to time in the mail.
Yes.
Right. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I just filed it away in my drawer. I was like, okay. And then I like accrued like multiple of those. And then we were moving out of that clinic, moving into our smaller clinic. And this was like after Stephen had kind of pulled out of our business more and more, and he was starting 3 Pi Squared. And I was like, I wonder. And this was like maybe a couple of years later. So I had learned a little bit more by then. And I get this stack of CDs out of the drawer, and I'm like, these are like updates of the contract. Yeah. These are things that I should have been
provider manual.
like, these are the provider manuals. Oh, right. Like, I didn't know.
It's like BMG, you could get 10 free CDs when you buy one.
It was like, like Gabby at the time was doing her insurance. She passed it on me. Well, obviously she didn't know what they were either. Right. I don't even think my computer had a CD like drive in it.
There is something to be said about paper. Yes, you might have a lot of file cabinets, but if a paper contract comes to you, right, you're kind of like, oh, maybe I should, but like some of my contracts came in paper and some of them were emailed to me. Right. And so I'm like, well, when I have to go look back, I'm like, okay, I'll have to go to the folder in my email, and make sure that it's there. And then,
there was updates that happened with one of the major insurances that we worked with. And we did get an audit, and they're like, oh, well, this was updated as of blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I had no idea there were updates. And they're like, oh, well, they're on our website. So no, they don't always notify you there's updates. You have to go searching for them. Yeah. And then even knowing that there was an update and knowing what the update was, going back into on their website, like through the provider portal or whatever it was, I never found the update. Like, I had to finally, they like sent a link to us to show, and I was like, where is it? So that's why I say, I'm like, oh, well, wouldn't it be kumbaya and beautiful and wonderful if we could just all pull together and help each other out to learn these things for our specific region or our specific payer or whatever, right? But I still think that could be helpful, but we still have to have a level of like, who do you trust?
Yeah, I mean, I think like CASP, ACQ are doing really amazing things.
They're really doing a lot.
And same with abacodes.org, I think is the website. Like those are places that I would reach out to if you have any questions. If a biller's or a funder is being a little weird, like that's the first place I contact is abacodes.org. What's going on? Can you help me? What do you suggest? Right. And then obviously you should have an attorney, right? You just have to have an attorney. You have to have an attorney.
But do you think that this would be as you're growing, like for the Alecias out there, is this one of the things where I don't even know that you could necessarily delegate this piece of it because it's so sensitive and so important. This might be something as sucky as it is that you have to hold on to your job as part of your responsibility for the life of your company. But what other things can you start to delegate to other staff, or bringing on an assistant or bringing on an admin or whatever it looks like?
But at the same time, because we've had at least one podcast with Kim Mack Rosenberg. Yeah. And she has said this multiple times when I've talked, just because they say you did it wrong doesn't mean it's wrong, right?
Yeah,
and so just because you don't have the perfect narrative doesn't mean the session didn't happen. And so they don't automatically get their money back